everybody. I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about relationships. And this is a user-inspired edition. We can thank Wiley Ann for this inspiration. I'm not claiming to be a relationship expert. I'm not giving relationship advice. I'm going to relate some of the things that I have learned in my relationships throughout my life, and y'all can take it or leave it. Y'all can just call me an idiot and ignore everything I say here today, or maybe there's something in some of my experience that might strike a chord and maybe you can learn from it. Because that's how I did a lot of my learning. I paid attention to other people. I read books, stuff like that. So I learned a lot of what I know from other people. I am by no means an expert, but I've been married once and I'm still married. I've been married for 10 years now. So I think that I am doing something right. Just not really sure what that is at this point. But one thing we need to talk about is if you're single now and you would like to, you're entertaining the idea of finding someone, where would we go as Gen Xers? Where would we find someone? Where would we go to meet someone, right? Should we go to a bar? Should we go to some kind of social club or something? And, you know, because we're in between with the reality face-to-face and the technology shit. So we're kind of in that limbo. We're the lost middle children. Are we supposed to feel more comfortable meeting people face-to-face and sitting down and talking to them and getting to know them? Or, you know, are we more comfortable online? This anonymous, fake, you know, with all the filters and everything now, you don't really know who you're talking to. They can be anyone, look like anyone. So I personally wouldn't really want to go that route myself personally. I mean, not in this day and age, but to each their own. Everybody has their own. So if you know of a way, if you know of something like that, you know, a way where a Gen Xer can meet people comfortably, even friends, make friends, some kind of social group, or an idea, then please put those down in the comments. That's what I'd like the comment section to kind of focus on that. Any ideas we have for people who might be interested in a relationship. Now, for those of us who aren't interested in a relationship, that's fine. Everybody's been hurt. We've all been rejected and humiliated and all these other things, including myself and my wife. And we've all been hurt, and we all have our scars, and we all have our reasons to either want to enter into a relationship in the future or completely avoid them. And both are completely satisfactory answers to the problem. They're both completely normal and healthy choices. So I'm no judgment at all. But now on to relationships. Okay, a little background information. I did not get married until I was 45. Now I'm about to be 55 here pretty soon. So I've been married for 10 years. But I went 45 years being single. During that time, I paid attention. I was not against marriage. I was not... I wasn't like avoiding marriage or anything. It just didn't happen. But during that time, that single time, I would pay attention to other people. I would pay attention when I read in books, you know, what people said and stuff, and read articles or whatever. I just paid attention to marriage and to what people expected from relationships and all this stuff. And one thing I remember seeing many times when I was younger is a quote from some old man or something, and it was repeated often was that marriage is a war. All right. And I took that to heart. I expected that. I knew it was going to be a war, straight up. I wasn't surprised when, shit went south in my marriage and we started arguing and stuff. I wasn't surprised. I figured that's what I expected because I paid attention. And I didn't know why, really. It never, that in that quote, and the why of that was never explained. But now being married, I've kind of figured it out. It's like those tumbler machines where they polish the rocks. It's like two sharp, jagged rocks are thrown into that machine, and then you turn it on, and they bounce off of each other and break each other's sharp, jagged points off until, if they stay together long enough in that tumbler, the tumbler is marriage, they round each other off and smooth each other out. Okay? And that is how I see marriage. It's not, you're not going to find the perfect puzzle piece. You're not going to find the perfect person because, number one, we're all just deluded into this fantasy of what the ideal person is. And that person doesn't exist. And I think that women have that worse than men. I saw this when I was a little kid, my two sisters being brainwashed. And I realized it, I noticed it, I remember it when I was just like 10, 12 years old, early teens. I remember watching my sisters and seeing how they were reacting to these magazines and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? Because both of my sisters were very beautiful girls, and they're looking at these other girls in these magazines and who aren't as pretty as my sisters, and they're I'm old enough to know they're probably, not healthy. They're probably not having fun. They're probably not happy, these girls in these magazines. But my sisters are looking up to these girls, and then I'm seeing these wimpus ass dudes that they have on these teen idol dudes, and I'm like, that's what they're holding up for my sisters to think is the perfect guy. You know what I mean? This is just stupid. And then they were buying all the hairspray and the makeup and stuff, and they put this stuff on their face. And that's one thing, I'll just be honest, if they took makeup completely out of this world, to me, that would do as much good as just about anything. If women just quit wearing makeup right now, just everybody threw that shit in the trash and quit making Maybelline billions of dollars, then what would happen? Honestly, what would happen? Women would have more money, right? Women, they'd still be good looking to us men. Of course, women looking at each other, they would judge each other and shit more probably. I doubt that because they judge each other continuously now. So, but dudes would still want to have sex. Dudes would still want to get married. Nothing would change with guys. We would not change at all. I still love my wife when she has makeup or doesn't have makeup. Doesn't matter to me at all. And if I see woman on the streets, whether she has makeup, doesn't have makeup, whatever, a lot of times I won't even notice. I don't pay attention to that shit. If she's not wearing makeup, she's pretty or she's not. If she's wearing makeup, she's either pretty or she's not. But I don't. But anyway, and I will say this right now. I am biased because I'm a guy. All right? My opinions are filtered through my experiences as being a man, so don't get too upset at me, ladies. But I'm just speaking the truth. If y'all would just throw that shit away, throw that shit in the garbage, us dudes would get used to it in a day probably. You might get a couple of wisecracks or something by some guy who thinks he's funny or something or whatever. A lot of us dudes wouldn't even notice it. And, but y'all wouldn't have to spend 3 hours in front of the mirror and stuff. So, I don't know. And then this whole, with the makeup thing, now you've got all these filters online and all this stuff, and these women, they just look completely different than they do in real life. I mean, you go, and I've seen these, these before and after pictures. This is her with the filter, and this is her without a filter, and it just doesn't even look like the same person. You wouldn't even recognize that person. So they're putting themselves on dating apps with these filters, and I'm sure dudes do that too now, right? They use a filter, might as well. So I don't know, just that fraudulence there. So you got to be careful of that if you're looking for someone online. And I don't know how to figure out if there's been a filter used on the picture. Yeah, and then another thing is that I decided that I was going to try to be the perfect husband. When I did get married one day, right? I'm in my 30s, and I'm like, when I do get married one day, I'm going to try to be the perfect husband. And like I said, I paid attention and stuff. And to give you an example of the rough edges and stuff, now, from the very beginnings of our dating and stuff, and throughout our marriage, now 10 years now, when my wife asks me something or reminds me to do something, hey honey, the garbage is full, I set down whatever I'm doing right that second. As soon as she is done with that sentence, I get up and I go take the garbage out. I get it the hell over with. I'm not saying everybody should do that. I'm just saying this is how I do it, because I read and heard constantly women complaining that men, they got to badger men and get them to do things for months and stuff. And I just made up my own mind years before I ever got married that if I ever got married, I wasn't going to be that way. Number one, I didn't want my wife to be bitching at me constantly to do shit, so I didn't want to live like that. Number two, I didn't want to turn her into a bitch. I didn't want to force her to bitch at me, constantly reminding me to do shit. And number three, I don't want to have the shit hanging over my head. I'm constantly thinking about something that I have to do. You know what I mean? I got to fix this. I got to hang this, whatever. And I forgot. Oh, shit, I got to do that. And then go back to what I'm doing. And then 3 days later, oh, I forgot about that. I got to get that done. I don't like doing that to myself and stretching out a job or a task or whatever, a honeydew. And so I've got to, worry about it for a month or something. I get it the hell done. Honey, will you hang this picture? I set down what the hell I'm doing. If I'm editing a video or watching a movie or whatever, hit the pause button, get up, get my tools and do it, get it done. Takes 10 minutes, throw the shit back. All right. That's how I roll. That's me. And I've been doing it for 10 years now. Now, in the beginning, my wife loved it. Oh, yeah, that's great. I love them. All right. After a couple years of that, she starts getting upset. Yes. And I guarantee you that almost 99% of women would get upset, because now she's starting to feel, at this point, 2 or 3 years into it, she's starting to feel guilty. She feels bad. She doesn't want to tell me anything that needs to be done, because she knows that she's going to interrupt whatever I'm doing. I'm going to put it down 100%. She knows this. I'm going to stop whatever the hell it is I'm doing and do what she asked me to do. There's no doubt in her mind. She knows it, because she's been with me for several years now. So now she's upset because I'm doing it, about 3 years in, 4 years in, something like that. Now she doesn't like it, right? So now she's telling me, oh, why do you do that? You make me feel bad. And my reaction is, make you feel bad? I'm doing what you asked me to do. You're supposed to feel good about that. This is what most women complain about in marriages, is that they have to constantly bitch at their husband to do something. You never have to bitch at me. Literally never. Because of the way I am. Because I consciously decided to just do that. To make that take that out of the equation. You do not have to bitch ever. You have never once bitched at me to get something done. Oh yeah, but it makes me feel bad, and you don't have to get up the second I say it. It makes me feel bad. I was like, well, you're literally going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to get through this, because I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to go to worrying about whether I'm going to forget something and all this shit, and have you bitching at me, and then that bitching build resentment, because I'm going to start resenting you for constantly nagging at me to do shit. And it's easily fixed by me just getting up and taking 5 minutes and doing it. We never have to have those problems in life. So no, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep doing it. So if you don't want me to do something, then don't ask me. Ask me to do it when you want it done. So yeah, so she's finally come back around, to where she likes it again, and she's happy I am the way I am, and she just asked me to do the shit, and I do it. But that's a basic part of a relationship where you think that you know what you want, but then you get it and you realize it's not what you thought it was. You think that, you have this big fantasy built up in your head that we have in our heads. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking about humanity, people, built up by media and parents and friends and brothers and sisters and all this other shit. And we get this fantasy built up in our heads that, that this is going to be the perfect spouse for me. And there is no perfect spouse for anyone. We're all damaged. We've all got our sharp edges. We've all got to work around each other, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, and whatever kind of relationship it is, a romantic relationship, a friendship. We've got to deal with each other's scars and flaws, and it's not going to be. It's going to be, and it's going to be great and wonderful for the first few months or maybe the first year of a relationship. Every single one of them is. You're falling in love. Then it turns to shit when you realize that your spouse is just a person, just a regular person. They're not this fantasy prince or princess charming that you have in your head. They're just a person. So now instead of being an angel, they turn into a devil in your mind. Everything they do pisses you off. Everything that they don't do pisses you off. Everything pisses you off. Pisses us off. And I'm not talking about any individual. I'm talking about all of us, me included. So we've got to have patience and get through that period of where that fantasy is being peeled away. Because there's a fantasy. You've got this person built up. You're projecting that fantasy onto that person. And as that fantasy melts away, you realize that that's just a person. What the hell? I got gypped. I got robbed. This person is fake. This person is fraudulent. They were acting different in the beginning. Possibly, or maybe you just felt different in the beginning, and possibly they were just human and they were putting on their best face for you, trying to impress you because they were so interested in you. They wanted you so badly that they did everything they could to impress you. Because that's what all of us do. We want to impress the person we're interested in. We want to impress them and get them to like us back. Some of it, yes, some people are just duplicitous and evil and create an entire false narrative and all this stuff. I'm not saying that they don't. But most people put on their best face. And then when that melts away, then we realize that they're just human and I think a lot of relationships go south because of that, because they're not the fantasy person that we thought they were. And I really can't stress that enough, because that's the hardest part, is getting past that and realizing that your fantasy prince or princess charming doesn't exist. Because if I left my wife right now, let's say I could leave my wife right now, and I wouldn't have the same problems with someone else. I guarantee you, if I went out and found another woman, I would not have the same problems with someone else. I'd have different problems. The same amount of problems. It wouldn't be any easier. It wouldn't be any better. It would be the same shit. That person would be fantastic in the first year, then it would get rough, and then we'd knock each other's edges off, and it'd smooth out, and we'd get comfortable with each other. The same thing. It's just the same shit over and over again. And we can jump around from person to person and still trying to figure it out why none of these relationships work. It's because we're not expecting the truth. We're expecting some kind of lie that life and the media and all these movies and stuff have sold us. The best we can hope for is solid, long-lasting love, commitment, comfort, trust. These things are the most important, and the reality. The fake shit is all this star-busting romance every day for the rest of my life. My heart's gonna flutter every day for the rest of my life. This person's gonna, just melt my heart and brighten my world every day for the rest of my life. That's bullshit. This person is going to piss you off. This person is going to rub you the wrong way. This person is going to make your heart melt. This person is going to brighten your day, is going to make you feel special, but they're also going to make you feel like shit, because it is a person. It's another human being. They are flawed. They're doing the best they can, and that's it. And I just see all this shit, being a man, I see all this stuff, this guy, my boyfriend, works a lot, and I'm going to leave him. That kind of shit, you know what I mean? See those kind of posts online, and that just turns my stomach. Or my wife has had 2 kids, and, now she doesn't look the same, and I'm going to leave her. That kind of shit. That shit just drives me nuts. So those are people who aren't living in reality. They're chasing this fantasy, this imaginary perfect mate in their head, and there is no such thing. We're all imperfect. But together, man and woman together are perfect. That's what we're supposed to learn through marriage. Marriage is a learning, a process. We rub each other and smooth each other out, and we change each other for the better. We learn patience. We learn understanding, sympathy, empathy, all these different things through long-lasting, enduring relationships. We just keep abandoning them after 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, then we never get to realize the truth of these things, these larger, longer concepts about life and what it's supposed to be, why we're here on this planet, what we're supposed to be here learning. And it's almost impossible when most people are just, we're all, me included, we're all brainwashed. We're all brainwashed. So it's almost impossible to do that when 9 out of the 10 people out there that you have to choose from are just have no clue. They're just wandering around. They're NPCs, whatever you want to call them. They're just brainwashed. And they're going to keep looking for the perfect mate, the perfect puzzle piece until they die. So for someone who actually has a conscious awareness of what's going on, to choose from these other people is really difficult. So I don't blame anyone for just staying single and just being themselves and being by themselves, because solitude is one of my favorite things. The only time, and I tell my wife this, I try to get this through to her, that she is the same to me as solitude. I'm as comfortable in her presence as I am by myself. Because when I'm by myself, my whole life until I married my wife, that's the only time I was really comfortable. The only time I could really relax and just be happy was when I was completely by myself, right? Just solitude. But then I met my wife, and this stuff starts coming out in conversation, that I like to be by myself. I'm a solitary person, and and then she takes that like, I don't want to spend time with her, and it took me a while to get through to her that no, that's the highest compliment I can give a person, is that you are the same as solitude. You are equal to solitude to me. There's no difference. I can be in a room with you or in a room by myself, and I'm just as happy either way. So it took a while to get that through to her, but I think she understands it now. So my point in that was that I do not blame anybody for cherishing their solitude. If that's what makes you happy, then I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. But if you are interested in trying to create a relationship with someone else, a long-term relationship in the future, and we're not too old to do that shit. Come on, man. We're not old people yet. We're getting there, but not quite. Then the only advice I would give you is to look at it in reality. Take the rose-colored glasses off and look at your relationship the way it is, not the way you think it should be. Because reality is where it is. I mean, you can't get away from it, no matter how much we want to, no matter how much we want this fantasy movie like big screen romance. We can have that for a little while, but eventually it's going to be reality, and there's going to be a real relationship there, and the two people are going to be on each other's nerves, and you're going to have to get through it. And that's the same advice I would give in almost every aspect of life, is to be real. Look at reality. All this fake digital online bullshit, that's not where it's at. All this fantasy bullshit, we're brainwashed by the media and the entertainment industry, that's not where it's at. That's all that shit has created these problems. It's the divorce rate is skyrocketing, the birth rate is plummeting, and all these things are connected. They are by design. We've all been brainwashed, including myself. And I'm probably the worst one, because I think I'm finally waking up. But I could be very well marching to the tune that they want. I have no idea. But be real about it. Look at every relationship with reality as it really is. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can head over to Redbubble and check that stuff out. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. Pretty cool stuff over there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. I appreciate those of you who do that. Thank you very much. It means a lot. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can head over to the channel page and email us from there. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.